Hello everyone and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Protoss versus Terran, where we find ourselves on Pride of Altaris. Spawning right here in the top left-hand corner of the map, playing with the blue Protoss probes from South Korea, we have Creator. And his opponent in the opposite corner with the red Terran SCVs. Likewise also from Korea, we're looking at ByuN's main command center. Now, I cast quite a lot of ByuN games, mostly because ByuN, well, he's one of the very best Terran players in the world, and he participates in a ton of tournaments that actually release their replay packs. So, generally speaking, I have, dozens of ByuN replays available pretty much every single week, which is amazing. So I don't think he really requires any additional introduction. Mr. Creator, however, is someone I don't cast nearly as frequently. Now, obviously, he's been playing this game for as long as I remember. I think he probably has been playing the game since 2010, maybe 2011 or so. And for the longest time, he wasn't as successful as someone like, for example, ByuN. Now, in case you're unfamiliar, over the last half year or so, it's almost as if Creator has like completely reinvented his play style. And he has been, he's been looking ridiculously strong. Honestly, and it's kind of funny because it seemed that he like got more powerful after the most recent balance patch where Protoss got nerfed, if that makes any sense. I mean, before that, he was already definitely powering up as well. But in the previous GSL Codes season, he made it all the way until the Grand Finals. Now, sadly for him, he did end up losing against Rogue back then, but there's no denying that he, just making it to that Grand Finals is ridiculously impressive. Because obviously guys like Maru and Dark and all those other top-tier players are also participating in that tournament. And in fact, the Creator moved on, and the others did not. Definitely shows that he's very, very strong right now. In the current GSL Codes, the one that's currently going on, Creator also did move on out of the very first group stage, whereas ByuN did not. So I just quickly looked it up. The group that Mr. Creator was in had Keen, Maru, and Solar, and they ended up 2-0ing Keen, and then also 2-0ing Solar, which is very impressive. So, Creator looking strong. ByuN, on the other end, he ended up getting 2-1'd by Bunny. And then he also lost 2-1 against Sue. Now, I don't think I saw the ByuN games. Not in the GSL Codes. I mean, those are obviously all very good players, right? So, a lot of the time it seems to come down to whoever is feeling better that day. But to see that Creator is not just strong this one event, right? But to see that he's consistently performing over the last half year or so is very, very nice. Anyhow, Pride of Altaris, always a fun map. Not one that we see all too often. Obviously, this map has the 8 golden minerals right over here. Normally, we see this taken as like a, either like a cheesy, very early game base, although that doesn't seem to be the case in this particular match. Oftentimes, though, it comes up as like a 4th expansion instead. Or like, I guess, like a 4th base. A 3rd expansion. Double Reaper here available now for ByuN. Mostly just trying to scout out what the opponent is going for. It's going to be a Stargate. It's hidden over there in the back of the mineral line, though, and he doesn't really want to sacrifice the units for it. Hellion trying to come in from the side, a 1-2 punch. All right, 2 probes in total going down here so far. And now with the Phoenix spotted, he knows exactly what it is that he's going up against. All right. Are these Reapers going to be able to escape? I doubt it. I think he's probably going to sacrifice them. At this point in the game, they've kind of lost their value. Although, don't tell them that. Right? This kind of sucks if you are a Reaper. Yeah, Reapers are, like, actually kind of a funny unit, right? Like, they're incredibly underused past, like, the first few minutes of a game. But if you were to improve them, if you were to increase their strength in any way, shape, or form, guys like ByuN are just going to cheese you out pretty much every single match. Like, I've seen a lot of people suggesting over the years, for example, things like Stimpec for Reapers, right? That may have been an option if Blizzard decided to go with that design philosophy back in, like, 2010, but if you were to change that right now, I mean, it'd be fun to see, but I think it would also be an absolute disaster. But it's kind of funny, like, they're one of the absolute weakest units in the game, but if you buff them, they become incredibly broken. Like, they are very good until the opponent has stuff out to deal with them, and then they just, sort of die. Anyways, Adepts getting quite a bit of work in over here. Actually, this Phoenix lift is super nice too. Okay, Cyclone right there did get repaired for a little while. Landed Viking, though, also aiding on with the defense. And in the end, Mr. ByuN does clean that up pretty comfortably. Yeah, only a single SCV going down so far. Did obviously lose some units. In the end, though, nothing all too significant. These are mostly what I like to call skill checks, right? Where you're making sure that your opponent is not, you know, gonna play too greedily. If it was up to Creator, he probably would have liked to take this third Nexus at the 3-minute mark and just skip all the units entirely. But if that were to be the case, ByuN would have already won the game. ByuN right now, though, being quite adventurous. I mean, he knows there's still going to be quite a few Phoenixes out in the battlefield. Yeah, when you get too overly aggressive with your Terran units against this sort of army, everything gets lifted and then everything just sort of dies. Definitely don't want to lose the Cyclones for free. Raven now coming up as well here for ByuN, so definitely planning on playing a relatively passive early game here. I don't think he really wants to get too aggressive until that Raven gets a little bit more energy, so for the foreseeable future, we'll probably just see him going into that Stimpack research on this tech lab right over here. Eventually, we'll also see the combat shields probably on a tech lab right over there, and then he's just going to start macroing up. That does mean that Creator has quite a bit of time over here. He doesn't know, though, that he's got quite a bit of time. He hasn't seen the timing of any of the additional structures, so they're always playing a bit of a guessing game. So he's decided to now go into a robotics bay. The robotics bay will open up the opportunity for him to go into either disruptors or more likely colossi. Colossi are obviously amazing, especially against marines, and he should have those out by the time that the Terran player is going to be able to go for a proper move out with Stimpack, combat shields, +1 infantry, and all that. Alright. Successful little move in right there on these Phoenixes. Always surprisingly tanky. Phoenixes are one of those units that you normally don't see. Like, when you look at them, they kind of look like paper planes, right? At the very least, the unit model has always kind of seemed to me as something that is very fragile and something that dies very easily. But they're actually quite a bit tankier than the majority of the, well, early game Stargate units at the very least. Things like oracles, they pop out of the sky very easily. Poor guy. Whoa! Wait, what? There's a hole! Yo, someone has to call, like... Apparently there's a hole in the glass somewhere. How did that work? Alright. I think that's actually a little map bug. It's kind of funny because we're actually cycling this map out of the current map pool. I think this is maybe one of the very last times that I'm even casting a game on this map. Apparently, interestingly enough, the ragdoll right there of the Marine can apparently fall through the glass. I don't know, man. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Anyhow. ByuN slowly progressing onwards. Zealots are now making their way around the map as well, just to scout, to see if there's incoming units. Pylon over here. Seemingly rare or random location. The reason why it's located over here is if Mr. ByuN wanted to go for a dropship, he would probably send it around the outskirts of the map, and then it would fly past the pylon, so it's going to give Creator a little bit of a heads up on the minimap if there is a drop headed towards the main base. He would probably love to have those scouts over there. Scouts in StarCraft 2, not available in the multiplayer at the very least. Anyhow. Pretty nice little thing to have. So both of these guys just slowly progressing out on the map, slowly building up their armies. Action right now is going to be on ByuN. But eventually, though, I think it's mostly going to be up to Creator to try and prevent the Terran player from going to their ultimate death ball. For now, though, he's decided to plant down the 4th Nexus, and yeah, both of these guys giving each other a lot of respect. Just slowly building up, trying to get the armies going. Constantly checking the opponent, but upon realizing that the opponent has the counter available already, they've decided to not really go in for a lot of moves. Now, the Raven does have a lot of energy. Most notable, the spell right now is Interference Matrix. It's an ability that can temporarily disable Protoss units, and in most of those battles, we'll see that being used on the Colossi. The Colossi are like 80% of the damage output in this current army, so you can imagine, you know, disabling those. Quite nice. Scanning the main base right here, just to check that nothing fancy is going on. No super quick Stargate transitions or something along those lines where, you know, he's gonna go straight into Tempest or Carriers or something like that. ByuN instead, though, has now, yeah, spotted what the opponent is up to, so he decides to go for the gold base. For now, he gets to dominate the battlefield, but Protoss going for, like, there's broadly speaking 2 styles right now that we see Protoss players playing right now. Either it's that super Zealot Stalker-based force, or they're going for a very tech-heavy approach. And that's the choice that Creator has decided to go for here. So he doesn't have as many units, but the units that he's got are all going to be very, very high quality. It's actually kind of cool how that, like, you know, contrast exists, right? It's kind of like the difference between, like, Terran Mech and Terran Bio, or, you know, Zerg going for, like, a spellcaster-based army versus, like, very Zergling Baneling or very Roach Ravager-focused. Protoss now also has multiple approaches. Yeah, so Creator is basically just looking at all of the units that he can produce, and he's just hovering over the command card and choosing the ones that cost the most gas, right? And then he's popping additional minerals right here on, well, more bases, more static defense, and eventually more gas as well. Alright. These players are gonna have to clash, though, at some point. Did the Prism actually just get picked off? Oh, yeah, it did. Alright. Nice catch right there from ByuN. Yeah, so it's not that these guys don't want to fight, it's that they're respecting the opponent enough to realize what's going on. Okay, Creator going for a cheeky little double expand. Probably not thinking that this base is going to go up in the first place. So there's a good chance that ByuN is going to move out, go in for the kill on this base, and then think he's ahead. But then Creator already apparently spent his mineral bank on another expansion in the top right-hand corner too. He doesn't really care too much about the golden minerals. I mean, it's nice, obviously. But he's mostly here for the gas geysers. Alright, let's see. Good EMP. EMP. Removing the shields out of those Protoss units temporarily. Feedback being used right over there as well, though, on that Raven. So that Raven not as useful anymore. Massive Storm as well, landing on all of those flyer units. Alright. Even though ByuN does eventually zone this away, he's got to be careful that he doesn't accidentally, like, assume that he's in an amazing spot right now, because there's another base taken in the top right-hand corner. I actually really like this little move. That double expo, we should see a Marine going on over towards the top right-hand corner right now. Creator playing a little bit of a mind game. Could have gone for an additional warp in instead of that base, but yeah, that's a little overly ambitious. Good EMP right there as well. Once again, though, oh my god, he doesn't snipe the Disruptor before it explodes. He did get rid of the energy of some of the High Templar, but Creator has been splitting up the Templar beautifully. At the same time, though, the Vikings have moved around, and they did manage to clear out those Colossi. ByuN at this point, though, has an awful lot of army. There's actually not that much available here for the Protoss player, who's storming in the retreating path. Eventually, I think that all of those Protoss units will be able to clean up those Vikings, but already the Colossi are gone. Even a couple of snipes are coming up. New Colossus, though, just popped out of the Robo facility. That one will also get picked off very easily because the shield battery is currently unpowered. An absolute bloodbath over here because there's also Zealots on the other side of the map trying to deal some counterattack damage. And in the end... In the end, both players just took a tremendous amount of losses. Obviously, Protoss takes quite a bit longer building up those heavy hitters, but he's already started up the transition towards a Fleet Beacon too, as well as a Stargate over here. Or, yeah, second Stargate, so wouldn't be surprised if he is kind of okay getting rid of those Colossi at the very least, and now transitioning towards that Skytoss heavy army instead. ByuN at this point doesn't realize that that transition is happening. Ghosts are obviously nice to have, but things like Liberator ranged and all that, not as useful against someone who's transitioning towards Skytoss. Obviously, though, losing the High Templar and the Disruptors, it does kind of suck. Alright. ByuN building up that economy. Yeah, Liberator range is still going to be fantastic for harassment, right? So, the Advanced Ballistics research, it gives the Liberator some additional ranged. And he's going to be able to start harassing those bases quite comfortably. Especially once you get rid of all of the Phoenixes, right? It can be quite tricky for the Protoss to actually clean those Liberators up. Alright. ByuN still seems to have the majority of the center of the map under his control. Creator, though, has an observer over here, not moving it. Leaving it in position. It's actually very difficult right there for the Terran player to spot it. I mean, you can kind of see the little shimmer. Yeah. It's very tricky, though. Alright. ByuN still hasn't seen the carriers. Oh my god, that was a massive overextension right there, though, from Creator. Losing like 3 of those Disruptors for free. Storm goes down, but good control right there from ByuN, as we expect from Micro Jackson himself. Thought he was going to try and go for the gold base once more, but he'll probably try and do that on the retreat. Instead Instead, he decides to get a little bit greedy right now, tries to take down both the base as well as the army, and I wonder if that is maybe, yeah, a little too much. This is also the point at which the carriers finally showed themselves. Creator wanted to hide those until the last possible moment. Maybe he should have pulled them in a little bit sooner. Right now, though, ByuN ends up losing more stuff than he realized, and it's because of that base in the top right-hand corner. He didn't actually realize that expansion was up for quite a while, and therefore the army here from Creator quite a bit bigger. All right. Carriers have been tasked to get that base up and running once more. Golden minerals will now also be acquired here for Creator. ByuN is obviously taking the base down south a while ago already as well. Now he's expanding towards the right side. He's adding on additional command centers. So we are getting to the point where eventually Terran can just start mining with mules and just continuously scan that Protoss army as well. Okay, a lot of disruptors have been sniped so far though. Yep, nice done. Dude, ByuN's micro is actually top tier. I mean, to no one's surprise, right? But 16 disruptors going down here is actually a very substantial amount. Just with a couple more, I think this game would have been quite a bit more straightforward for Creator. Just having like 3 more in this army would make a world of a difference. The problem is, right, when you're trying to snipe that unit and the Purification Nova is still channeling, and you don't actually kill the Disruptor in time, it explodes and everything dies. Not quite the situation you want to normally be in. Did we already go into flyer attacks? We did not yet. So I would really love to see those cybernetics core upgrades coming in. Actually, a little bit of an oversight. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things going on right now, but yeah, getting those extra upgrades started is going to make things way easier for those carriers. Especially since we're soon going to be at, well, 5 carriers. That makes for a whole lot of interceptor ships. And as you probably know, there it is. As you probably know, the interceptors all benefit from that +1 upgrade. +2 as well. +2 especially is huge. High-sec auto-tracking, together with the Neo Steel armor coming up right here for ByuN. Those are the upgrades you get after finishing up +3/+3. It essentially gives him some additional armor on his structures and some additional range on his missile turrets as well as his planetary fortresses. And speaking of missile turrets, okay. Huh. ByuN thinks he's a Zerg, I guess. Sadly for him, you cannot reposition these spore crawlers. But this is normally what we see the top-level Zerg players do all the time against Skytoss. Oh, massive EMPs once again. Beautiful game here so far by ByuN, honestly. In order to deal with all of those interceptors, right? So every single carrier carries 8 of them. That's why it's called a carrier, right? Every single one of them can carry 8. While the missile turrets aren't going to be very helpful in straight-up battles against stalkers, they're going to be fantastic at making sure that the carriers cannot go through the center of the map. Now, ByuN is spending an awful lot of money on this, though. Okay, 2 Purification Novas is enough to get rid of those units, too. There's some storms going down, but once again, more disruptors getting picked off, too. Carriers, though, helping out in this battle. And the carriers do deal a lot of damage. Upon seeing the missile turrets in the center, though, immediately, Creator decides to pull back. Even a barracks is coming up here, so maybe ByuN is, yeah, taking the middle of the map as one of his bases right now. This expo is easy to acquire, assuming he didn't block it with a missile turret. You could definitely take this one. Oh, I think it was a misclick, okay. Yeah, so he's just adding on a lot of missile turrets. We're already at 33. Problem is, though, you can't move them around like you can spore crawlers, right? Spore crawlers are quote-unquote static defense. Expo here on the right gets killed easily. Dark Templar now added in for the base defense too, forcing a scan out of the Terran. Thing is though, Creator is going up against a Terran who has about a dozen scans available at any given moment. Liberator's also added into the mix, by the way. Oh god. Making sure mostly that the disruptors can't just take off these missile turrets from a distance. ByuN is seeming relentless, man. Yeah, playing a very fast game as well. Hoping that his poor wrist will actually hang in there too. ByuN has always had wrist issues. Well, at least over the last 5 years or so. Yeah, so ByuN just smashed his piggy bank that he's been building up for the majority of this game on missile turrets. Is that a good idea? Because, like, Creator can just go around, right? He can just go around and go for the throat. The soft underbelly of the Terrans right over here. Pretty aesthetically pleasing base once again here, by the way, from Mr. ByuN. 38 missile turrets. Oh, this is good, though. Yeah, nicely done right here by the Terran. Sniping a bunch of those carriers. Archons did get underneath, but... okay. Archons deal splash damage, right? You gotta be so careful. Yeah, so many of those units. Once again, a Disruptor gets rallied in. Man, we're now at how many? Am I blind? Oh, 24. Sorry. Yes, I am blind, apparently. Anyways, you gotta be careful with those Vikings. Flying them over the Archons is an absolute disaster. Since the Vikings tend to clump up together and, well, Archons do a lot of splash damage. You gotta be careful you don't accidentally lose them while trying to hunt down those carriers. Still, though, that exchange was definitely better here for the Protoss player, or for the Terran player than it was for the Protoss. Surprised he hasn't taken a base over here yet. He's got orbitals for days. Only 2 planetary fortresses, by the way, in this game. Yeah, ByuN getting maybe a little bit carried away, though, trying to fight the opponent here. Creator still has plenty of economy of his own. And ByuN actually doesn't have that big of a bank either. Like, if you look at the active army right now, yeah, their army values are way higher than the current amount of resources that they have. Creator could maybe even go for the expo right over here on the left side, too. A couple units here from the Terran also misrallied. Obviously, that's bound to happen just because, well, there's about a million things going on at once. Creator not really focusing on a lot of counterattacks yet today. No cloaking available on those ghosts, so apparently they just walk over here. Ghost, not really a cheap unit, though. Alright. Yeah. And those 50 or so missile turrets that ByuN has now built in this game, they're slowly getting picked off. Upgrades really aren't looking that hot, though, for those carriers. Like, I mean, to be fair, the carriers haven't really been that worthwhile in the first place anyways, because in a lot of instances they've just sort of been, you know, killed before the fights properly begin. Okay. Carrier coming in from the side as well, though. Those carriers are not really part of the battle just yet. Vikings did get stormed there once more. Is there enough here for the Protoss player to clean all of this up, though? And I think there, yeah, I think there might just be. Especially now with the majority of the Vikings getting killed. Once again, a Disruptor explosion there could have been an absolute disaster for ByuN. But ByuN apparently laughs in the face of danger. Good juggling right there by Creator. Trying to keep units alive. Trying to bring some reinforcements into this fight too. And what I thought was actually going to be a landslide victory here for ByuN turns out to be an advantage here for Creator. Even though he only picked off like 5 or 6 or so of those missile turrets earlier, that definitely made a huge difference in that actual fight. Man, if only he had those upgrades done on those carriers, that would have been such an improvement. Creator, by the way, taking one of the bases over here that's normally considered to be the Terrans. ByuN hasn't seen it yet. Would have definitely... Okay, now he sees it. Would have definitely sent a Liberator or something in that direction. ByuN, by the way, has taken a base in the bottom left. Mules are mining that one out very rapidly. 5.3k minerals coming in a minute. I think I even saw 5.5k there for a second. Would love to see those Zealots going over in that direction. Yeah, we really need to see some more counterattack harassment. Apparently this is the moment, though, where once more ByuN decides to try and pressure his opponent into returning. Creator apparently more than happy trading out a half-mined out golden base for a fresh mineral base in blue. A lot of mules also get killed, but I mean, they already did the majority of their mining anyways. Base in the top right-hand corner will probably also be destroyed. Some reinforcements could maybe actually get rid of that. That Terran army, that is. Planetary fortress over here. Okay, Liberators flying a little too far forward. Battlecruiser for now, though, or sorry, Battlecruiser Planetary Fortress for now, though, does stay alive. And maybe Creator went for a bit of an overextension. He might want to try and recall on out of here. 31 probes have gone down over the course of the last half minute or so. Yeah, whenever you're like flying your carriers on the retreat like that, it's always a little bit scary. Massive storms, though, do land on top of that Terran army. Whew. Expansion over here. Also under harass, 11 kills on that one Liberator. That group of Marine and Marauders, yeah, they did end up killing the base as well in the top right. So they've been responsible for the gold, the top right, and now also, what is this, like the 230 location, the 230 o'clock? It's not even a... Anyway, it doesn't matter. Gonna be able to get rid of this expo relatively easily. So in the end, that little skirmish right now, or just now, was 1 base for 3. And even though it was a fresh base for ByuN, and he doesn't have a lot of mining going on anymore, he still has a bank. So I think he's more than happy with that trade. Trying to now almost like bait this Protoss army into the range right here of those missile turrets. Protoss army though, very high quality units. 46 probes have gone down. Creator doesn't have that much stuff anymore to mine units with, or to mine resources with, but he does have a good amount of, well, flying units still. If it's up to ByuN though, he's gonna try and pick those off over the course of the next, well, 10 seconds. Okay. Colossi are getting picked off. Most of the interceptors at this point have disappeared as well, so that means that the Vikings and the Marines are gonna be able to start picking off those carriers one at a time, and there it is. After an awesome back and forth, it is ByuN who obtains the victory.